Hello YouTubers, this is DeathKiller281 and today I'm actually going to bring you a tips and tricks video on how to get a good KD in Modern Warfare 3. And the first tip I can give you is to try to always use an automatic weapon. And the reason is because if you're going around using a SPAS 12 or a KSG or a model or a M16 or Type 95, those guns that are not automatic, most likely you are not going to get as many kills as you would if you would go around using an ACR or a SCAR-L or any automatic weapon in that case. The reason is because these guns have a faster rate of fire, so it's easier to kill people and you have a higher advantage of killing enemies because your guns are not going to be as strong as weapons that happen to have a slow rate of fire, but they are going to be faster than them, and you always want to be faster than the enemy. The next tip is use your preferred weapon. By this I mean, if you are going around sniping people and you're not a sniper, don't try to do that. Most likely you're just going to go get your KD to go down and you're going to start getting a lot of negative games, and you do not want to do that in Call of Duty. The next thing is don't use the same attack or defensive style with each gun class, and by this I mean you are not going to want to camp with a PP90 or any submachine gun in that case, because those guns are for rushing. And the same with assault rifles. Assault rifles is basically the gun type that is the best for any type of style, rushing, defensive style, any type of style. So there's not really any improper way to use an assault rifle. And with light machine guns, you're going to want to play defensive, and the reason is light machine guns are extremely slow. You run extremely slow with them, so you can't really rush with them, but you can't play defensive because those guns are monsters when it comes to killing. In 3 shots they can all kill you. And the same with shotguns. If you're going to be using a shotgun, I suggest going around rushing, but you can also play defensive. Shotguns are just like assault rifles, because not only are shotguns really strong, but I would suggest using them in close quarter combat at all times. Don't really go out in open areas. In high traffic areas where it's really close quarters, I would suggest to do that, but not in areas that there's a lot of lines of sight where snipers can just shoot you from. Next tip, use suppressed weapons. And the reason is because when you shoot and you're using a suppressed weapon, you do not show up on the minimap, and this is really helpful because it will help you get more kills, and you can also not die as much. Next tip, don't use your gun in an area where it is not really that functional in. By this I mean you do not want to go around trying to snipe people with a shotgun, because shotguns are not for sniping. And you don't want to go around trying to quick scope every single person you see in Call of Duty, because quick scoping is only useful sometimes. Every once in a while is unreliable. You are going to get hit markers. So by that I mean try to use snipers at really long distances, and with shotguns try to use them at close distances. And with submachine guns, you can use them at really close distances, and well, not really at long distances, but at the end, submachine guns are really great guns for almost any type of distance to attack. And the next thing is learn spawn points. You always want to learn spawn points, and the reason is because when you learn the spawn points, you learn ways to flank the enemy, and this is extremely useful because you want to know how many different ways you can flank the enemy. In Call of Duty, flanking the enemy is the most useful thing ever, because you never want your enemy to be aware that you're gonna kill them. You always want to be a stealthy person and just kill them without them ever knowing that you were gonna be there. And like I said, learn the spawn points, but then again, learn when spawn points switch. And by this I mean use the minimap. The minimap is extremely useful. Not only can you actually tell when the spawn point switched from it, you can also tell when certain enemies are in an area, because if you look up there and for example one of my teammates dies and his arrow, his green arrow just disappears, most likely there's a person in that area who just killed him. So that's why the mini map is extremely useful, and you should really use it as much as possible. The next tip is try to not always attack the enemy face to face, and the reason is because there's always a 50-50 chance for you to win any gunfight in Call of Duty. So the way you want to attack an enemy is by attacking them from the side or from behind, but not face to face. The reason is because most likely you are either going to go against a gun that might outrank you, or your internet or their internet might be better than yours. You never know. But never try to go up against somebody face to face. Next tip is to always move while you shoot. The reason is when you move while you shoot, you become unpredictable because your enemies don't know exactly where you're going to go. You might turn left, you might turn right, they never know. So that's why try to move as you shoot. Another good tip for moving as you shoot is to use a tactical layout, and this, what it basically does is that it makes it easier for you to be able to drop shot, and drop shotting is really helpful for encounters where you're face to face because it helps you surprise the enemy and it gives you that extra advantage to kill them. Next tip, as you see right here, I'm using this wall of desk as covers, and the reason why I'm actually doing this is because you always want to have cover in Call of Duty. Even if you're rushing, you want to have a car or anything as cover, and the reason is because you don't make yourself as vulnerable as you would if you were rushing around and you would have no cover at all. Next thing, try to not get in high traffic areas. And if you see in this game, I mostly go around the outside of the maps. I don't really try to go in the high traffic areas, and if I do, I try to stay behind cover, or I try to stay next to enemy. I try to stay next to teammates, so any enemies could die because my teammates will kill them. The next tip will be to adjust to higher sensitivity, and the reason why you would want to adjust to a higher sensitivity is because it will help you react faster and help you turn faster if somebody was shooting you in the back. It will just help you kill anybody who could be already shooting at you. It will help you get that extra chance to kill them. The next tip, it's a really useful tip, but not everybody can do this tip. Hopefully you can, and it's to always have a clan when you play Call of Duty. And the reason is, when you have a clan, you basically can give each other callouts, and callouts are really useful in Call of Duty. You always need to inform your enemies where you just got killed, where the guy was heading, where do you think, what was he using, just to be able to give your teammates that extra chance to kill the enemy. Because if they know that in a certain building there's a guy with a striker, they won't go in there, but they might throw a grenade or C4 in there to try to lure that person out, and that would be really good. The next tip would be to try to practice in private matches, and this is basically a really simple tip, and the reason is because practice makes perfect, including in Call of Duty and almost all video games. You're not always, actually I don't think you probably will ever be able to just get into something and be the best at it. Every professional starts as a beginner, and that's why practice makes perfect, and you always need to be able to practice. And a way to practice in Modern Warfare 3 is to be playing survival, or just to be playing a private match with your friends, just a fun private match. It doesn't even have to be competitive, but like I said, just try to practice as much as possible. Playing in multiplayer is actually it's not much of a practice, to tell you the truth. It's more competitive, and when you are under the stress of dying, for example, you're trying to go for a Moab and you're afraid you're gonna die, you most likely are gonna die because you are making too many mistakes because you're stressed. And well, that's it for this video. Thank you very much. Please make sure to subscribe, like, and favorite. And this is Death Killer 281. And thank you very much.